You ever go on a trip with a family member that's just a real pain? Well, Jesse Eisenberg sure has some thoughts on that with his latest film, A Real Pain. This movie had my attention from the start, not just because Eisenberg directed it, but because he's starring alongside Kieran Culkin, a duo that I thought would have a really interesting dynamic. And I wasn't wrong. Let's talk about it.
What? What's your problem now? 1541.
Who cares?
It's quite unassuming, isn't it? If you don't know what you're looking at.
What the f***? It's just,
you know. Right.
Is this a comedy? A drama? A little bit of both? And most importantly, should you watch it?
well, naturally.
Yes.
So the basic premise of A Real Pain is pretty simple. Two cousins, David and Benji, go on a guided tour through Poland, specifically visiting Holocaust memorial sites.
Our dads are brothers. We're basically brothers too, wouldn't you say? Dave, we used to be joined at the hip. Like feckin' Katie and Eilish. You remember them?
Yeah, don't say that.
After their grandmother's passing.
Yeah, sorry, she was just my favorite person in the world.
Right away, you can tell these two couldn't be more different. Eisenberg's character David is quiet, introspective, and a little awkward. Exactly what you'd expect from an Eisenberg role. Meanwhile, Culkin's character Benji is loud, blunt, and a total wild card. Basically the perfect storm for some awkward yet heartfelt moments.
Oh, and did you eat anything?
I did, yeah.
Okay, just because I'm going to want to get something before we take
Don't
off.
worry about it, man. I got you yogurt. It's a little warm.
But what's interesting is that this isn't just a road trip movie about family bickering, it's also about grief, identity, and generational trauma. And for a film that leans into its comedic elements, it actually hits some pretty heavy emotional beats. Alright, let's talk performances, because honestly, this is where Real Pain shines the most. Eisenberg is great in his usual understated way, but Kieran Culkin, he absolutely owns this movie. His character could have easily been insufferable, but Culkin plays him with just enough charm and vulnerability that you actually feel for him. There are some key scenes where he really gets to show his range. Like one of my favourites is the scene where he gets the entire group tour to do funny poses with the statue. It's hilarious, but it's also kind of bittersweet when you realise why he's acting the way he is.
Okay, ready to go?
Wait now.
But then also I like the monologue where David just spills his heart out about Benji. That is proper heartfelt material. Then later on when he's disregarded by everyone when they're saying goodbye. Deep. And speaking of the tour group, I actually found them to be a surprisingly great addition. You'd think they'd just be background characters, but they end up being an interesting way to show how different people react to grief in history. James, played by Will Sharpe, stood out to me the most.
This will be a tour about pain. Of course it will. Pain and suffering and loss, there's no getting around that.
He was one of the most strongest characters alongside Benji. Will Sharpe is also in one of the worst films I've seen this year in Emmanuel, but Will Sharpe is definitely worth checking out for both of his contrasting performances, I'd say. I can see big things for this guy in a few years. Now, for a movie that takes place partly at a Holocaust memorial, you'd expect it to be pretty heavy, and it is. But what I appreciated was how A Real Pain doesn't try to force big emotional moments. There's a real powerful scene where the group are just walking through one of the concentration camps, and instead of heavy dialogue or dramatic music, Eisenberg just lets the silence speak for itself. You just watch the characters take it all in, and honestly, that's way more effective than any monologue could have been. This is Eisenberg's second time directing, and while I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking, it's definitely a strong effort. The cinematography is nice, the pacing is tight, and most importantly, he understands the weight of the subject matter without overloading it. You know, my final verdict is that A Real Pain is a solid film. It's well acted, well written, and has some really memorable moments. But is it the most powerful film ever made on grief or trauma? Nah, but it doesn't need to be. It does exactly what it's set out to do. You tell a heartfelt, sometimes funny, sometimes painful story about two cousins trying to make sense of their past. If you're a fan of Jesse Eisenberg or Kieran Culkin, then this is 100% worth a watch for you. And if this is just the beginning of Eisenberg's career, I'd say he's got off to a pretty good start. Alright, now it's your turn. Have you seen A Real Pain yet? What did you think of Eisenberg as a director? And do you think Kieran Culkin has deserved all these awards? You know, I think he's won Best Supporting Actor for every single award ceremony. There might be one or two where he didn't win, but I'm sure it's almost been a clean sweep. But drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it.